The attack on Chinese infrastructure in Pakistan continues. Earlier this evening, multiple blasts were reported at Pakistan's Gwadar Port Authority complex. And following the explosion, unidentified gunmen stormed the complex and opened fire. And according to Pakistan media reports, 7 attackers were gunned down in retaliatory firing by the security personnel. Right now, a large contingent of Pakistan forces is present at the complex. No casualties have been reported so far. The Majid Brigade of the Balochistan Liberation Army, the BLA, has claimed responsibility for the attack. But here's why this is big. Gwadar is located near the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial oil shipping route in the Arabian Sea. This deep water port in Pakistan is also a key element of the $60 billion so-called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, also known as the CPEC, a cornerstone of China's wide-reaching Belt and Road Initiative, which focuses on linking China's Xinjiang province with Pakistan's Gwadar port. But this is not the first time a Chinese project has come under attack in Balochistan. In fact, in August last year, a convoy of Chinese engineers working in Gwadar were attacked by the Balochistan Liberation Army, or the BLA. And there's more. In April 2022, a terror attack against a shuttle bus used by Karachi's Confucius Institute killed 3 Chinese teachers and their local driver. The attack was claimed by the Baloch Liberation Army. In August 2021, 2 children were killed, 3 wounded in an attack targeting Chinese nationals in Gwadar. And a month before that, in July 2021, a shuttle bus blast killed 9 Chinese and 4 Pakistanis. A few months before that, in April, a deadly car bomb explosion at a hotel hosting the Chinese ambassador in Quetta killed 5 people. That attack was claimed by the Pakistan Taliban. In 2018, the BLA attacked Chinese Consulate General in Karachi, killing 2 police officers. And in May 2017, 10 workers were killed by the BLA gunmen in response to the CPEC development. Do you see a pattern here? Because you are not wrong. Armed Baloch groups have repeatedly targeted Chinese projects. And now you may be wondering, what is their problem with the Chinese? You see, there is a reason why Chinese projects are increasingly becoming a target in Balochistan. Balochistan is a resource and mineral-rich region of Pakistan. And where there is money to be made, the Chinese are present. Beijing, in fact, has invested heavily under its Belt and Road Initiative in Balochistan. This investment includes the development of Gwadar, but the situation has not been all roses. Chinese investment sparked tensions on the ground. It has fueled the decades-long separatist insurgency in the region, and as a result, the armed Baloch groups have attacked Chinese projects and workers. They say they oppose China's exploitation of the mineral-rich region. They say Chinese investment robs them of the resources of their own land. They say they do not benefit from Chinese investment. And so they attack CPEC-linked projects. So in the past, Baloch separatists have exaggerated their success in these attacks, but Pakistan authorities as well have severely downplayed these attacks or delayed reporting them. The Pakistan government, in fact, has deployed thousands of security personnel in order to counter threats against Chinese interests, but that has not stopped the attacks. Chinese companies operating in Gwadar as well as other parts of Balochistan continue to be targeted. Despite Pakistan's efforts to boost security, the situation remains complex. Therefore, no matter how much China invests in transport, energy, infrastructure projects, instability, tensions over resource distribution persist. Anas Malik, our Pakistan bureau chief, has been tracking these developments closely, is joining us on the broadcast this minute. Anas, let me begin by asking you to tell us more about what really is happening on the ground. Bring us up to speed with the latest.
Well, the latest situation is that the attack is over. The situation is considerably under control. The combing operation has been completed as well. What we know is that at least 8 terrorists belonging to the Baloch terror organization, the Baloch Liberation Army, have been neutralized. They tried to enter the premises of the Gwadar Port Authority, trying to attack the security forces and its related institutions. But they weren't allowed to go beyond the first checkpost. They tried to ram in their vehicle full of laden of explosives, but they couldn't detonate it. And as a result of the timely action by the Pakistani security forces, at least 8 terrorists who were involved in the attack have been neutralized.
Right, Anas, let's also talk about the overall security situation. This attack coming on the heels of the recently concluded election as well, also in the middle of the extremely grim economic situation. What do you make of all of this?
Well, the attack lasted for about 40 minutes, and we've previously seen such attacks have been happening. They have been targeted precisely on foreign nationals, precisely Chinese engineers and their related work. And then of late, we've seen that security forces convoy have been attacked precisely in the area and in the vicinity of Gwadar city and Gwadar district by and large. So this attack particularly was directed at the security forces and its installation. It was not to do with any port-related infrastructure, which the Pakistani authorities say. But that being said, it raises alarm bells.
Thanks very much for the moment, Anas, for those updates. And of course, we are going back to Anas Malik, who is on the ground tracking those developments very closely for us. Our next story is from Hong Kong, where lawmakers have passed a new national security law, triggering growing concerns over how this could further erode civil liberties. What is the law all about? We tell you more in our next report.
On March 19th, Hong Kong passed its second national security bill, spelling concerns for the city-state. The legislation, known as Article 23, introduces 39 new national security crimes, which include treason, sabotage, sedition, the theft of state secrets, external interference, and espionage, with the most serious offences punishable by up to life imprisonment. The sentences range from several years to life imprisonment. The 90-seat council stacked with pro-China loyalists was first presented with the bill on March 8th, following an appeal by Hong Kong leader John Lee to push the law at full speed. 88 politicians and the council's president voted unanimously to enact the legislation. The new law will come into effect on Saturday. Hong Kong's new law comes 4 years after China passed an even more powerful national security law that was directly imposed by Beijing on Hong Kong in 2020. After huge pro-democracy protests the year before, since the law was passed, 290 people have been arrested for alleged national security offences. Among them, 174 persons and 5 companies were charged, including media tycoon and pro-democracy advocate Jimmy Lai. Critics worry the new law will further erode Hong Kong's civil liberties that Beijing promised to preserve for 50 years when the former British colony returned to Chinese rule in 1997. This includes giving Hong Kong self-governing power, election rights, its own currency, and a largely independent legal system. The passage of the new bill has irked many countries, including the United States, who are analyzing the potential risks to its citizens and American interests in the region.
We're alarmed by the sweeping and what we interpret as vaguely defined provisions laid out in their Article 23 legislation. They use phrases such as external interference, which is incredibly vague. So we're analyzing this legislation, and we are taking a look at what the potential risk could be to not just U.S. citizens, but other American interests that we might have.
British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said that the law will damage the rights and freedoms of Hong Kong people, provoking a sharp retort from the Chinese embassy in Britain, which said that Hong Kong affairs are purely China's internal affairs. The European Union and the United Nations said Hong Kong's new national security bill was deeply worrying and could erode fundamental freedoms in the China-ruled city.
I think passing the law marks a clear shift in Hong Kong. It's a pretty complete rejection of the sort of liberal Western tradition under which Hong Kong was run during colonial rule in the first 20 or so years after the handover. Now it's clearly going to be run in a very different way with very different expectations of how people can behave and what they can say and to a great extent what they can now think.
In the wake of criticism, China said it firmly opposed countries and institutions that slander and smear Hong Kong's new national security law.
China expresses strong dissatisfaction and firm opposition to some countries and institutions that slander and smear the legislation of national security law.
With Hong Kong's new national security law coming into effect on March 23rd, the city will now toe the line of President Xi Jinping's China, with lawmakers repudiating its Western liberal past. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The World Happiness Report is out. The same one which ranks countries across the world based on their happiness level. It is released every year, and if it is to be believed, then it's always rainbows and sunshine in Finland. Because the country has topped the happiness list for the last 7 years. 7 years. Once again, there are no changes in the top 10 rankings. Finland is followed by Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and ironically, Israel. The index seems to be blind to the war going on in the country. Then what explains this? The people of Israel are protesting for a change in the government. They are also shouting on the top of their lungs, demanding a hostage release deal. They have been doing so for a while. They don't look very happy, but somehow the World Happiness Index could not see that. The US has fallen from 16th to the 23rd spot. But it still seems to be a generous ranking given the current state of affairs in the country. There were over 600 mass shootings in the US last year. That means there were 2 incidents every day. There are more guns than people in America. As of 2018, there were 390 million guns in circulation. The number would have dramatically increased since then. And did I mention the fentanyl epidemic? Last year, some 70,000 died due to fentanyl. Addicts and homeless people can be seen in every other streets in the US. But according to the index, Americans are still happier than over half of the world. Maybe that is the kind of optimism that we all need. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And when it gives you an epidemic of rats, make it a tourist attraction. That is what Americans did last year. They even offered rat tours to tourists. Anything to keep a simple smile on the faces of the people. Because the judges of the World Happiness Index are watching, hopefully. Moving on, the Great Britain is at the 20th position, which is in recession, by the way, which is grappling with its worst cost of living crisis in a while. And just a few days ago was voted the second most miserable place in the world. The UK was second only to Uzbekistan. Which survey should we believe in now? One that measures happiness or the one that counts misery? From what I know, one cannot be both at the same time. If the UK is one of the most miserable countries, how is it the 20th happiest one? And you know what else does not add up? That Pakistan is ranked at 108, while India is at the 126th position. Hear me out. We're talking about Pakistan, a country riddled with terrorism and shrouded in poverty. About 40% of its population is now below the poverty line. That makes up for some 95 million Pakistanis. People don't have the money to buy food or everyday essentials. Its economy has been in free falls for many years now. Last year, according to reports, there were close to 800 terror attacks in Pakistan. How can such a country be happier, which is India, of course, is prospering, has become the 5th largest economy of the world, offers far better living standards than Pakistan, to say the least. The happiness index took into account 6 variables. These were GDP per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity, corruption, and I don't see Pakistan being better off in any of these parameters. So the rankings are honestly beyond me. Every year this report comes out, people are fascinated and curious. It is reported by every mainstream media platform and publication. But does anyone ever question the methods? It's about time that we did.